This is Outer Worlds 2, everything you need to know. And what I want to know is why there's not fucking co-op. Why can I not play with my homies? You know what I'm saying? I will buy this for people. I will triple their gains. You know what I mean?
From its updated floor system to its optional third-person perspective, here's everything to know about The Outer Worlds 2. Development on The Outer Worlds 2 began as developer Obsidian was wrapping up production on the original Outer Worlds. Tim Kaine, a co-creator of the original Fallout and co-director of the first Outer Worlds, remained as a
Is this actual gameplay? Because this is the first time I'm seeing this. I don't know if this is like what it looks like now. That's actually lit. Got new monsters and everything.
consultant on the sequel after retiring in 2020. Speaking to the outlet Rock Paper Shotgun in early 2024, Kaine stated that he believed that The Outer Worlds 2 had solved a problem that had plagued RPGs since the earliest days of the genre, even referring to notes he had made when developing the first Fallout game that referenced said issue. While we don't have specifics on what exactly this problem is, The Outer Worlds 2 creative director Leonard Boyarsky states that he and Kaine are aligned on making the game, quote, bigger and deeper than the first. Boyarsky claims that
pause on that.
Due to how limited the team was for time and resources when making the original Outer Worlds, that the second game, quote, delivers on the fantasy we had when we started the first game.
Delivers on the fantasy they had.
Outer Worlds takes place in an alternate timeline where US President McKinley was never assassinated. In real US history,
why we gotta bring the real world into this? This is my fun shooter RPG game. Like, this is the best shooter RPG I've ever played in my life. Outer Worlds 1, I have never, like, I'm not a single player type of guy, but this will be a big part of my channel and stuff. I'm gonna spend my money, $100 on this game. I don't want to think about the real world, man. It's not my business.
after McKinley was assassinated, his vice president, Theodore Roosevelt, was elevated to the office of the presidency, where he served until 1909. During his tenure, Roosevelt was known as a trust buster and put checks on corporations that allowed the federal government to have greater degrees of regulation over the private sector. In the timeline of The Outer Worlds, those checks are never put in place, and a handful of corporations grow in such size and power that they largely dictate the planet, and eventually the cosmos. In the first Outer Worlds, set in the mid-2300s in the six-planet star system known as Halcyon, the player is trying to save a ship, the Hope, that is adrift in space with thousands of colonists stuck in cryosleep. As their
Okay, buddy, I'm not gonna lie to you. I like your video so far. I did not want this history lesson on the game that I literally played like for hours. I probably have about 500 hours in the game that takes maybe 100 to beat, to like 100% complete. I played the game enough. I know what happened. I don't need this information, big dog. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That mission progresses, the player
maybe other people do,
the
but
board,
like,
the collective name for the
I'm trying to know about Outer
Worlds
too.
Plans to turn the Hope into a permanent cryogenic warehouse and store even more colonists, so only the most wealthy can indulge in the colony's dwindling resources. At the end of the first game, the player ends up being put in charge of Halcyon, either as a stooge of the board or as the freedom fighter that stood up against it. The Outer Worlds 2 takes place a few years later in the colony of Arcadia, where rifts in space have cut Arcadia off from Earth. As an agent of the Earth Directorate, the administrative body that oversees relations between Earth and its colonies, the player gets caught in a conflict between two opposing forces, the Protectorate and Auntie's Choice. The Protectorate is an authoritarian government that first had control over the colony. Auntie's Choice is a megacorporation that is the result of a merger between two megacorps from the first game, Auntie Cleo and Spacer's Choice. This new megacorporation wants to take advantage of Arcadia's space rift problem to seize control of the colony's trade routes. There's a third faction in the game as well that will play a large role.
Am I slow? Did he just say Auntie's is merging with what is that shit called? Spacer's Choice? I think that's what it's called. So they merged and became one big business. That's a monopoly on the system, man.
Role in the story, the Order of the Ascendant, a spin-off from the Protectorate that is equal parts science and religion and thinks it can predict the future through equations.
Oh,
Assisting
Lord.
the player in navigating this cosmopolitical quagmire will be 6 companions. Niles and Valerie are fellow members of the Earth Directorate, Inez comes from Auntie's Choice, Tristan from the Protectorate, and Marisol from the Order of the Ascendant. Finally, Aza is from the Glorious Dawn, an offshoot of the Order that has leaned into the group's more religious aspects and worshipped the space rifts like a god. And before you ask, no,
Nice.
you cannot romance companions in the Outer Worlds 2.
Bro, let me get a girl, bro. I got one in real life. I just need one more, you know what I'm saying? I just need one electronically. I just need, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna edit that out. Probably not, though.
The Outer Worlds 2 is an RPG shooter that can be played in either first or third person with both ranged and melee weapons. The game has also improved mobility over the first title, adding sliding, double jumping, and mantling. The Outer Worlds 2 has also expanded on its weapon handling and variety, the devs boasting major improvements over combat in the first game. Time dilation is also making a return, giving the player the option to slow down time for a few seconds before it resets on a cooldown. As the player progresses through the game, they'll level up and be able to modify their character with skills and perks. There are 12 skills in the game, which will allow the player to have access to different dialogue and actions depending on whether they have invested in the appropriate skills for the current task. Skills also dictate which perks are available to the player, of which there are over 90. Perks unlock further actions available to the player, as well as modify their stats. The game also has a floor system. Depending on the player's actions, the game
Bro,
will
I hate that
identify
system.
flaws in the player and then offer up a named flaw.
The
player can
flaws,
choose to
bro, I had fallen from so many high places that I got like broken ankles or some shit was my flaw. So I took so much damage, it made me quit playing on one of my playthroughs. Like anytime I got hit, I think it was like 25% more damage taken, and I lost my mind playing that game. That playthrough was terrible.
take on these flaws, which provide them with both negative and positive traits. The player character's background, i.e. why they signed up to join the Earth Protectorate in the first place, and their core traits will also open up different gameplay options. Players can pick either a single positive trait during character creation or 2 positive and 1 negative trait. Skills, perks, traits, and the player character's background cannot be changed once the player has committed to them. While exploring the world, the player can turn on the radio and tune into 3 stations, one for each major faction in the game. The radio stations will not only play music, but will have news bulletins that will highlight events the player has had an active hand in. The player's choices in the game will also affect their reputation with the 3 factions, altering their relationship and interactions with those factions' members. The Outer Worlds 2 will launch on October 29th, 2025 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. While initially revealed as Microsoft's first $80 game, the corporation eventually walked that pricing back, and the standard edition of the game will cost...
They walked it back, huh? That's probably the best idea they had, to walk that stupid shit back. 'Cause I think when I first heard about that, I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy it then. Yeah, but you know, I'm gonna buy a deluxe edition. That's what I do. I'm a money waster, you know what I mean? If I see a good game, I like it, I'm spending my money.
$70 instead. A premium edition of the game will retail for $100 and allows players to jump into the Outer Worlds 2 5 days early on October 24th, as well.
Today's 22nd. Oh, I'm buying that game tomorrow. I get my money tomorrow. We're buying it. Oh my god.
Offered them some in-game gear, a digital art book and soundtrack, and access
I didn't even know that. I get to play the game 5 days early.
Pre-ordering either edition of the game will also unlock some additional in-game gear.
Petted drone.
And that's everything to know about
I appreciate you, Gate Spot. You know what I'm saying? That was a good video. You know what I mean?